Hi, today we're having a look at this steel. This is D2 from one of those really ultra cheap Chinese knives. This is a Y-Start Jin, Jin01. $13 for this knife, 13 Australian dollars I think I paid, plus an extra tenner for shipping. So for G10 and supposed D2, that's a crazy deal. You know what, I would have doubted this a while back, but then I got that LA police gear knife that seemed to actually have real S35V in it, and there you go, it's that cut as you'd expect. So D2, well, had a weird experience with D2 so far. The Ontario RAT number 1 cut in the low hundreds, and then I had a Viper knife, a Viper Keeper, which cut in the high 60s, early 70s. So very much a variable steel still, as you will find with these sort of very often used or rather common and old steels. So let's I'll put a worksharp edge on this knife. First thing I did was do that. I've got a pretty good paper slicing edge on it, and we're just going to cut the same rope that I always cut, which is this twisted sisal rope. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to see how many times the rope cuts the paper on that absolute edge before it no longer bites in and slices that paper. So we're not making it dull, we're just making it lose that paper slicing edge. And as usual, you can check the comments and see how other steels you may know have placed here, as well as other variants of the same steels. Let's get to it. That's gone 42 times, a noticeable lack of, a noticeable sudden decrease whilst cutting, and so I was going to go to 45 and test, so I stopped at 42, tested. It's rather dull already. So these tests are pretty, I know this isn't exact science, but these tests are fairly, the results are fairly patentable. Like there is a pattern to them. When something sticks out, it generally means that there's something that's gone wrong. I'll redo this test exactly the same way with the exact same knife again, and I'll see what it generates from there. So yeah, not looking good. So 45 the second time, 3 more. That would just be purely in my workshop. Probably, maybe make a tiny difference in how sharp this might have been to start with, within a couple of cuts at any rate. So this is either lower end, lower hardness D2, which is possible. I think the Viper Keeper, that would actually be D2. Viper Technocut, I know I have a fair degree of trust in, wouldn't mislabel steels, so I would say that's probably lower end D2. This might be really low end D2. Maybe this particular knife is a bad example of a knife, or and probably most controversially, maybe this isn't actually D2, maybe it's just something that they say is D2. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to rust test this steel, and I'm going to see if it rusts as D2 should do. Seeing if it's making sure it's not a stainless steel masquerading as D2 perhaps. It's got a satinish finish, so it's not like it's super high polish, so it should rust, or at least develop something over a few hours, so I'm going to do that now. Alrighty, so I've made my saltwater solution and I've put it next to a knife that I've sanded back that is also D2. So I've sanded back the finishes on both of these blades to make them as even as I can do on the testing side. So Viper Keeper, which is marked in D2 as well, which performed like sort of lower Rockwell D2 maybe, and then this knife which is marked D2 but cut lower than this knife again. So let's test out how they rust. That'll be this D2 should rust, especially with my saltwater solution. Absolutely, this is a little bit stronger than seawater. It's about 5% saltwater. So let's let's have a look and see how it goes. I'll put this down, I've got to go to work. I'll check them when I get home from work. Alright, so these are both of the knives. The Y-Start is here, the Viper is here. So you can see one has far deeper, more substantial rust than the other. And these are both D2 steels with very similar finishes. Hell, even very similar blade stocks and everything. They're both about the same, very similar everything really in terms of just the blades functionality. What do you reckon? My brain is going to suspicious territory where I'm thinking, is this even D2? Like, it's sort of cut about the same as 8CR does, and it's kind of just getting that light rust that 8CR gets without the deep stuff that D2 gets. This is quite normal, this is what I'd expect, and this is what I would have expected this one to do as well. They both had heavy water sitting on them for 8 hours, for a whole day, so heavy salt water too. So yeah, those are my results, I guess, of this general Chinese D2 branded knife steel test. Yeah, I don't know, I'm not going to outright go and say that I think the company's using the wrong steel, but or labeling their steel wrong, but it's definitely performing differently to how the other D2 has performed. I know it's a very highly variable steel and it's all about heat treat and all that sort of thing, but it's cut for a very short amount of time when I've done the test twice. And yeah, now it's rusting a bit strangely, or a bit differently as well, a bit more in line with how a stainless, a mid-chromium stainless steel, respectively, would rust. So, what do you think? Interesting anyway, very, very interesting. Alright dudes, I will see you all in the next video. Bye now.